Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. This video short today. I'm your host, Jono, and this is my co-host Chris as usual. Today we're going to be breaking into a sneak peek for our rankings. We're hoping to have our rankings out for everybody at the beginning of August. And this we're going to be going to the top 5 for our running backs and the top 5 for our wide receivers. Keep an eye out too, because we have a quarterback and tight end episode that we'll be breaking out soon too as well. That being said, let's jump in. Let's start off with the running backs, and the unanimous number one between the two of us is Christian McCaffrey. Even though last year Josh Jacobs was the leader in standard league scoring, he was only the leader by 2 points. And that's because he had 340 attempts, and he had one single game where he put up 42 fantasy points, purely because he had 229 rushing yards on 33 rushes. I do not see the volume coming to Josh Jacobs like that again. I don't think the team is going to lean on him as heavily. I do think he's going to have a good season if he ends up playing and not holding out. But McCaffrey, by far, is the reason why he's that number one guy. Is year after year, he has that ability to go 1,000 and 1,000. When you rush for 240 plus attempts, when you have over 100 targets in the receiving game, you have a chance to go for 1,000. And that being said, he only had 8 rushing touchdowns. He had 5 receiving. I think that number is going to even go up higher. Like 8 to me is a low number for him rushing touchdown wise, and 5 to me is a solid number for receiving for a running back. But if he'll jump into the double digits this year, and that'll give him the boost he needs to make him that definite number one overall. And to be honest with you, when you look at his stats from last year in standard scoring, at least week 7 against Kansas City, he had a rough game. Still put up 6.2 points for you. And then week 12, he only had 4.9 points. He never dipped below double digits a single game besides that all season. That was both with Carolina and with San Francisco. And that's what you want out of your number one pick.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole reason we both love him at the 1.01 is the same reason we like Eckler as a top-end running back. It's not purely for the running ability. It's how much they're used in the backfield as a receiver and how dynamic they are with the ball in their hands. I mean, you're not even counting the one passing touchdown that he had.
True.
So he had 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, total touchdowns
last year. And yeah, I agree that number goes up. Like of all these top end running backs, all right, you look at McCaffrey, Eckler, Henry, Chubb, Barkley, Jacobs. What offense do you like best out of that? It's San Francisco. San Francisco is the best offense out of all of them. And you have the running back there that is, when he got traded last year, it was just such a perfect fit for what his skill set is. He's used out of the backfield. He can get into the zone scheme running. They have athletic offensive linemen. Even though they lost some offensive linemen in the last 2 years, I still think that the whole scheme revolves around athletic guys at the guard position, at the tackle position. And they got, the best offensive tackle in football, probably the best athlete in football with Trent Williams. But they have they use McCaffrey like they wanted to use Debo. When we saw the 6-game stretch 2 years ago from Debo, how he was used out of the backfield as a runner, that McCaffrey's better than him. He's creates better mismatches. He's a better receiver out of the backfield. He can run the ball more effectively. Now, don't get me wrong, Debo is really talented, but you're going to see packages with Debo, Elijah Mitchell, and McCaffrey in there, and who's going to be lining up where. And because we like this offense, you have to love the running back there. I agree. He's a 1,000 guy, potential of a 1,000 guy.
Well, I think he would have had 1,000, in my opinion, had Carolina gotten him off to a hotter start. If he started the full season with San Francisco, the potential was there. I mean, he's finished with 741 receiving yards. He wasn't far from getting 1,000. He had 1,100 rushing yards. So it was there. To me, could he have made up that 250 passing yards in 8 weeks with Carolina, I think it was?
Yeah.
I think so. I think easily. I mean, you break down that math, it's pretty simple for him to do that.
Yeah, and everyone's saying, there's a lot of talk right now with Eli Mitchell cutting into his workload, but you look at when Eli Mitchell came back from injury and they started to phase him into what they wanted to do offensively. And even the games that McCaffrey only had 30 yards rushing, he's still at 80 yards receiving. and he was so heavily used there. And Mitchell was effective in those games too. So
Yeah.
I don't see why they can't both be used.
No.
And you saw Kittle being used, and you saw Ayuk being used. The person, the odd man out, was Debo.
Well, that's why I put him as my bus candidate this year.
Yeah,
I think he's still going to be the. I think they may try and use him a little bit better, a little bit more, be more effective because he is dynamic. But I think that it's going to come in the passing game. I think his years in San Francisco being that rushing threat in the red zone are gone because they don't need it.
Oh, for sure.
They don't need it. Well, let's move on to our number 2 because our number 2 is also unanimous, and it's for the same exact reason. You've already mentioned his name. The same exact reason why we like our number 1 is a chance to have a guy that can go for 1,000, and that's Eckler. Now he
touchdown. Like
exactly
all he does
touchdown
is
touchdown. Now the thing is, Eckler is yet to rush for 1,000 yards in his career. He's been over 910 yards 2 seasons in a row, both having at least 204 carries. So if he hits that 200 mark, he's guaranteeing himself pretty much 900 yards rushing, which is pretty good. I think if he gets himself 10 more carries, you get yourself to that 1,000-yard mark. But he went from 94 targets 2 years ago to 127 last year with 107 receptions. Insane.
Right.
But
That's
4 years ago, he still had 108 targets and 92 receptions. So the past 4 years, this man has been gobbling up air yards. And I love it because it is so easy to get the ball in his hands. He's so squirmy. He's got that smaller frame, but built stocky. It's hard to take him down. And when he gets ahead of steamrolling, he's going. He's a fast little dude. And yeah, he finished 4th overall in standard scoring. So that being said, it was only by 9 points from Josh Jacobs that top 5 guys were all kind of stuck together a little bit. I don't think you could go wrong, even if you wanted to take him as your number 1, if you're a Chargers fan or if you just feel better about the Chargers this year. But unanimous, number 2 for me. This guy's going to get checkdowns. He's going to be used like they used Tony Pollard last year a lot. And I also think
he's used more.
Yeah, I think he's used more in the rushing.
50% of the rushing carries.
Yeah, he's going to get 48%. So I love him as a number 2. It's an easy no-brainer pick if you're sitting there and deciding who you're going to take, and McCaffrey's already off the board.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can whatever we just said about McCaffrey, you can say about Eckler. Like, he's a dynamic receiver of the backfield, and this is an offense that likes to push the ball downfield. So you got Mike Williams, you got Keenan Allen on underneath routes, and now you got Quentin Johnson. Like, this team wants to push the ball downfield, and when the defense is all shifting back 15, 20 yards, Eckler's open. Again, he's a mismatch against any linebacker that you put him against because he's such an effective catcher. And he's a bowling ball. Like, he is tough to take down. You watch him and his runs, and even like the run after catch and the yards after catch are high for a running back because he's so effective with the ball in his hands. And he's a tough tackle because he's so low to the ground. He's a shorter guy, but he's stocky and ripped. I mean, look at his offseason training. He looks.
Go follow him on Instagram. Yeah, go follow him on Instagram.
Go follow
and
him
just
on
Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, here's the crazy part, and this is being said. I mean, not to knock McCaffrey at all because he's a stud, but Eckler, since he came into the league, and I'm even talking about 2017 when he was a rookie, right? He came in and he has rushed for no less than 4.2 yards per carry. I mean, when you give a guy 200 touches and he does that, I mean, just look at people like Nick Chubb. You know, McCaffrey's done it too. He's had a couple shorter, ones than that. He was in the 3s for a season, but I think that was a tough season. That was an injury season. But still, when you look at Eckler's
he was also
numbers,
in the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, but Eckler's just came in. There's a reason why he was an undrafted free agent. Melvin Gordon, first round pick, was ahead of him, and the Chargers said, "You know what? We're okay without Melvin Gordon. We got this guy." And I think they're gonna. He may be a free agent after this coming season, but I'll tell you what, they're gonna use him to win and win. I mean, he's had 18 and 20 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons, respectively. I fully expect him to have at least 15 touchdowns again this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about him. He's going to score 12 plus touchdowns. And he's effective on the goal line too. Like, as a small guy, you think that he's going to get stuffed up there, but he's powerful. Like, he's low to the ground and powerful. He's going to get in the end zone. And then he has the receiving aspect of it too. I think that the offense that he's in fits better for a receiving back, but I think McCaffrey is the better runner.
Mm-hmm.
And McCaffrey's done 1,000-yard seasons rushing. Eckler hasn't, but Eckler's receiving totals are significantly higher than McCaffrey. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, you can't really go wrong with one of these guys. Like, my preference is McCaffrey. Both of our preferences are McCaffrey, but like, am I mad that I go and get Eckler at 2 instead of McCaffrey? No, like, I love Eckler. He's a really, really talented running back, and he's going to win you weeks because he does score multiple touchdowns. He does get volume in the run in the passing game, and I don't care if a running back is going to only rush for 50 sub 50 yards. If he gets 70 plus yards receiving, you have all purpose yards. You know, if you're receiving points for every yard that they gain, I don't care where it comes from.
Yeah, I agree. Volume and touches are the
McCaffrey's
most
a better
important
passer
thing.
too.
Yeah. Okay. Eckler's had passing touchdowns, I think, in the past.
I'm sure he has.
Derrick Henry's pretty good himself too.
I mean,
anyway, let's move on. Let's go to our number 3, which may surprise a couple people. It may be not this high on some people's boards, but to me, you and I both agree with this one too. In fact, I think you agree with all our top 5 is all the same. But number 3 is Nick Chubb. I think this guy, year after year, slept on. He was the number 5 in standard last year. He has been number 5, number 7, number 9, number 6, and rookie year was number 16 when he was not fully taking all the carries either. This man is the most efficient runner in football for the amount of carries he gets. And last year, he finally got himself 300 attempts, put up 1,500 yards. He has not been below 5 yards per carry in his career. He has not been less than 8 rushing touchdowns per season in his career. And last year, he also ended up getting his highest or second highest amount in targets and second highest amount in receptions. And he saw a boost in that. And now without Kareem Hunt there, and yeah, I believe like Jerome Ford, maybe some other people are going to get some opportunities to get some pass catching ability. And he's going to get some time off because you got to give the guy a breather. But that being said, there's no better pure runner in the NFL than this man here. And at number 3, I'm hard pressed for you to make an argument of why somebody else is going to be better, because to me, his floor is as high as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, we both have said this in the past and on other episodes, is that he is the most disrespected player in fantasy football. He really is. Mm-hmm. I mean, and this is the best year. Like, people knocked on him because he's not involved in the receiving game. Like, he's going to lose touches to Kareem Hunt. Well, guess what? They cut Kareem Hunt. Yep. He ain't there. Yep. And look at last year. Kareem Hunt was there. Kareem Hunt was healthy, and Kareem Hunt lost touches.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb is that much better, and he's a good receiver out of the backfield. Does he get targeted a lot? No, but he is a good receiver out of the backfield. He's decent enough that, okay, get him with space, and he's gonna have explosive plays behind him. Like you said, he ran for over 1,500 yards. Yeah, his yardage is going to be up there. He can run for 1,600 yards. The offense is better this year.
Yes.
For as long as Nick Chubb has been a Brown, we have not seen an effective passing game from the Browns. With Deshaun Watson coming back and having a full offseason under his belt and them having an effective passing game, imagine what he's going to be able to do. If for the last 4 years he's been facing more stacked boxes and safeties playing down because no one fears Baker Mayfield throwing the ball deep, imagine what he's going to be able to do when he has 15 yards of open space before a secondary is there.
Well, here, let me read this stat out for people to understand here. You've got a guy who led the NFL with 47 rushes of 10 or more yards. Led the NFL last year in that, 47 or more. On top of that,
and stupidly scored a touchdown against the Jets.
Well, his yards per carry, expected yards per carry based on the offensive line for the Browns last year was only 3.8 yards, and he still ran for 5.05 yards per carry on the season. And then, even top of that, out of the 1,525 yards, 1,177 of them were after contact, which was third in the NFL. This guy is a beast. He's a battering ram. And this guy is going to do whatever it takes to get the yardage and get in the end zone. And that's what you want from your top tier running back. This is the perfect guy for a hero running back because he stays healthy, relatively healthy for the whole season. He's the perfect guy if you want to go RB heavy as well. So I think you can't go wrong at the number 3 pick. And the thing is, he is dropping to the end of the first round, people.
I've seen him go in the second round.
Yeah. If you are in that 10 to 12, you're at the turn there at the beginning, he is dropping down. He's being drafted behind Bijan Robinson, who is an unknown, to be honest. He's drafted behind Jonathan Taylor, who now is a mobile quarterback. And it just blows my mind. I don't care if he finished 9th or 7th or anything like that in previous seasons. This man is an absolute stud. You know what you're going to get out of him, and you can rely on him week to week.
Yeah. Yeah, the one other thing I'll add is imagine Chubb running in an RPO system.
Yeah.
Again, you're holding up the linebacker for one more second.
That's all you need.
Half a second. That's all you need. I think he can be. I really do think he can be the rushing leader this year by a long shot.
Well, I mean, literally, he was third behind Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, and he was barely behind Derrick Henry. I think it was literally by maybe 13 yards or something. And it was 100 yards to Josh Jacobs, but Josh Jacobs had 40 more carries, people, to get that done.
A game and a half worth.
Derrick Henry had 40 more carries to get 13 more yards.
Yeah.
Okay, so put that in perspective. That's called efficiency, and he's the best at it. Moving on to our number 3 that both you and I agree on here, and it is number four. Number 4. Thanks for the correction. Is Saquon Barkley, my fellow New York Giant that I love. Hopefully he stays with the team here.
Hello. Are you a Giant too?
Sorry, us New Jersey New Yorkers will always say my team, my guys.
It's my team.
My team, my guys.
My guys.
Hey, listen, we bleed for our teams in the Northeast. But that being said,
I cry for mine.
Yeah, you do. Saquon had a fantastic season last year. Obviously, he missed a whole week 18, so that's a whole game where his point total, he's still finishing standard 6, but it's a whole game's worth of not touching the ball. He was on a fantastic pace. He was 5 carries short of 300. He had 76 targets. I expect somewhere around the same again this year when he comes back. Maybe 275 for rushes, maybe a little bit less, but still being involved in that passing game. I expect him to be a little bit more, turn his targets into receptions a little bit better with Daniel Jones this year. The biggest thing with him is, again, he almost did it his rookie year with 1,000. He's been in the middle of the pack in the 400, 300s for receiving yards, and when in a healthy season, which he's had last year and he had his first 2 seasons, he's going to run for over 1,000 yards. So this man is one of the few guys that you can put the ball in his hands. He's a home run hitter. I mean, there's plenty of wide receivers that can do that. There's not a lot of running backs that can do that. That breaks that run off and is gone down the sideline. He did a couple of them last year, including week 1 against the Titans. And he got caught by Byard, I believe, on that one. But again, home run hitting ability, big chunk yard plays. He's involved in that game. The offense, as much as people want to say the offense is going to run through Daniel Jones, which what the RPO does, the offense runs through Saquon Barkley, and the locker room does too. The reason I have him at number 4 is because him and Eckler's another person. When you're talking about a guy that's playing for his livelihood here, if he doesn't get this extension, he's going to come out the door swinging, even if he's on that franchise tag. If he does get his extension, he's going to come out the door swinging to prove to everybody his worth and prove to New York his worth. So I like the dog in this guy.
I think that I think they'll get the extension done.
I think so too.
I think that he wants to be a Giant. But this is, we should have started off. There's a caveat to him being ranked number 4, and that's if he's if he plays this season. So if he's on the Giants, which we think that he's going to be, he's going to sign or he's going to play under the franchise tag.
Yeah.
The offense is all around him. I mean, you can say what you will about them bringing in Darren Waller and then drafting Jalen Hyatt and the other receivers that they have there, and Daniel Jones being a mobile quarterback. I don't think they want Daniel Jones to run for 700 yards. Can he do it? Yeah, he's proven he can do it. But I don't think they want Daniel Jones running for 700 yards. I think that this offense is going to feature Saquon a lot more, especially he's dynamic as a receiver. And this is what we like about all these guys, minus Chubb, but the McCaffrey and Ecklers, they are really, really good receivers, and they're all mismatches against anyone that's going to match up against them. You put a safety on them, it's a mismatch. You put a linebacker on them, it's a mismatch.
It's a mismatch. Yeah.
And they use Barkley out of the backfield so effectively.
Well, and and the thing is, the moves he make are reminiscent of Barry Sanders. It doesn't matter if he has a guy on him or in front of him making the tackle, he's always making that first guy miss. I don't care what you say. So like it's a play for -2 yards. He'll reverse field and he'll make the first down. That's the beauty of getting somebody like Saquon is this guy is going to scrap together yards out of nothing that not a lot of these people on our list are going to be able to do. There's not, to be honest with you, everybody talks about Bijan Robinson being able to do this. I want to see it in the NFL. Show me in the NFL, because right now what Saquon does, he may be the only person that moves the way he does laterally. I don't know anybody else that you could tell. I mean, talk to me. Do you have anybody on this list? I don't think so.
People want to compare him. He played in the Big 12. Bijan played in the Big 12. All right. He's not facing the defenses like that are in the SEC or the Big 10. He's not. So people want to compare him to being, Saquon Barkley and Saquon did this in college. Saquon did it against really, really, really good defenses in college.
Yeah. And he still doesn't look the same running away. Yes, I understand the dynamic threat that Bijan can be, and you can move him around. He can be like McCaffrey. He can be like Saquon and Eckler, like in that fashion. But the way he moves is not the same as Saquon.
It's really hard for me to put a rookie running back in my top 10 unless they're coming to a team which has the best offensive line in football. And Atlanta's offensive line is not a bad offensive line.
But it's not like the Cowboys when Zeke came into the game.
When Zeke came in the year before, DeMarco Murray ran for close to 1,900 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
And had 3 Pro Bowlers on that line.
Yep. It's a different situation for Bijan, but we're not talking about Bijan here. We're talking about Saquon.
No,
he's our number 4. Here's our number 4. Let's wrap up our top 5 with our number 5, which is still the king, and that's Derrick Henry. Finished third last year in fantasy scoring for standard. The year before, he only played 8 games. He still finished 14th after playing 8 games, half the season. He finished first the year before that and second the year before that. The guy is going to touch the ball 300 times, and when he does, he's going to get yardage. He can fall for 6. That's the thing. Everybody says, you can fall for 5 yards. Well, he can fall for 6. He did get involved in the passing game a little bit more last year.
And he can throw down defensive linemen.
Yeah. He got involved in the passing game last year. Same thing goes. You give him a screen pass, and he gets ahead of steamrolling. It's hard to stop that. That is a freight train coming through.
And no one wants to tackle him.
The only reason I have him number 5 going into this year is the Titans are in a win now mode just because they are that fringe team in the playoffs. So it's not in a rebuild. So I know they're going to use this guy, but we're talking about a 29-year-old, 6'3", 247-pound bruiser that's been beat up. He can withstand. He could play the whole season. I'm just wondering if they're going to want to give him the ball 350 times again, or is it going to be closer to 300 times?
And that's why he falls down my list too. Is like he's taken some bumps. He's 29 years old. The offense is not very good around him, and so they're going to rely on him getting just volume upon volume upon volume.
Yeah,
and I can't see him getting 350 more carries this year. I still love him here. Obviously, he's a top 5 running back for me because he is the most feared running back to tackle in the NFL. But this offense is out of the top 5 guys, he's on the worst offense by far.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Well,
he
and to me,
he
he's
is literally the entire offense.
he's also a little bit more one-dimensional. I know he can catch out the backfield, and people knocked him that he couldn't do that. He can. He proved it last year. But when you look at these other guys, they're a little bit more dynamic. And when you get a stacked box against Derrick Henry, the Giants showed you can stop him. You can slow him down. You can win a ball game against Tennessee doing that. Whereas, like, you try and stack the box against Saquon Barkley, it may work for a first half, and he's going to come out the second half, and you're not going to know where he is on the field. Same thing with Eckler, same thing with McCaffrey. And then Chubb now, he's in the same boat. It's like you stack the box on him. He still finds a way to do it. But now you have a more dynamic offense that I think is going to open up the running game better for him, which is why I jump him up to the third spot for me here. So, and yeah, there's other running backs on this list that are that way too, it being dynamic. Dalvin Cook, depending upon where he goes, you'll see where we rank him. Tony Pollard's dynamic like that. ETN is dynamic like that. But these guys have proven it, and these guys are the best at it. And that's why I like that. And that's the only reason why we have Henry probably 5 together, and I think we agree on that. So, well, let's take a quick break here. When we get back, we'll be chatting about the wide receiver